I love a good story and I love a good movement and I love a good behind the scenes of understanding how something came to be. And today I wanted to do just that. I wanted to share a little bit more. I know you've probably heard tastes of it if you've been around in the Kingdom Fit Moms world for a while, but I wanted to share how God has transformed my heart and how He's used my obedience and my imperfections. And there's been a huge learning curve, but He's challenged me through creating Kingdom Fit Moms and this community, this tribe. He's really challenged me to have greater faith. I'm telling you all the things today. I'm spilling the beans in hopes that you know my heart and get to experience the freedom that so many women have here that are able to really break those chains of excess weight and live in freedom. But also, I hope that this encourages you to have the freedom to do the thing that God has put on your heart and to do it even when you're afraid and even when you feel like you have no idea what you're doing. So let's go. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast, where we believe that you can go on a journey to lose weight for the last time. I know you've tried all the things and you may not believe me yet, but when you do weight loss the Kingdom Fit Moms way, everything changes. You're in the right place if weight is constantly on your mind, you're confused about food, you're missing out on memories, and maybe even putting your dreams off for another day because this weight struggle is no joke. We're a community and we're on a mission to invite God into this weight loss journey so you can shed the burden and shine your light. I want you to start living and believing in the version of yourself that heaven sees. Let's get started. So I hadn't necessarily planned on talking about this, but it's so fresh in my mind, and I'm just coming off a quiet time with the Lord, and I've had revelation about this dream I had, and I just wanted to share it with you as encouragement, and then I'll share more about us and our story. But I had a dream a couple nights ago, and a little background before the dream. In college, I was a pitcher and I loved softball. And when people ask the question, if you could go back to any phase of your life, what would it be? And for me, if I could do it and still come back to where I'm at now, I would go back and I would play college softball, because that feeling of being on the mound and, throwing a curveball and throwing a rise ball and striking people out, it was just so fun. Anyway, I had a dream, back to the dream, that I was playing softball and I had a new coach. And this coach, it was a man, and the way that I could describe him is he was so beautiful. And he seemed like he was a different race. It was like a race that didn't exist. And almost like his skin was really dark. He had dark hair, but it was like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing a human being that is different than any human being I have ever seen. And he's so beautiful. Anyway, he was my coach and he was intimidating, not mean, but just a little bit, he seemed a little bit scary to my team. And after the first practice, he pulled me aside and I had to go work with him individually. And I was a little bit afraid. So we started working on backhands and I was diving, and he was very patient with me because I wasn't doing very well. And I was practicing like going to my left, doing these backhands over and over again, which is a concept and a skill that I have that's okay, right? I'm a pitcher. I don't have to do backhands that often. And I don't have to dive for balls that often as a pitcher, right? But in this dream, he was practicing the skill, and it was he was just so patient with me. And later in the dream, we were walking back to practice, and I remember two conversations. One of them is he was encouraged and affirming my poise and my confidence to just keep trying this thing that I, you know, wasn't meant to do. And I remember in the dream as we were practicing backhands, and I was like, I'm a pitcher, right? Like this isn't my wheelhouse. This isn't the thing that I'm like amazing at by any means. And so he was just affirming me as we were walking back to practice that, there's a confidence that you have that you carry to keep trying this thing that you're not good at. And also, I remember having a conversation with him in the dream. And we were talking about how I have been at practice, but I haven't been practicing pitching. I've been practicing all these other skills with the rest of my team. And if you know anything about softball or baseball, like pitchers, they're kind of like their own breed because they have to spend a lot of time outside of what everybody else is practicing. And that's why pitchers oftentimes, stereotypically aren't the best hitters, although that's changing some, but they have to work extra hard because they have to master being able to take this ball and make it move and hit this exact target, right? It's a very specific skill set. So in the dream, in that conversation, we were just talking about how I haven't been practicing that in practice. And my coach my other coach did not necessarily have an awareness. Like she was so focused on all the other pieces and I was kind of just thrown in this lump. And we were just talking like, I should be practicing that at least 3 times a week in practice aside from what everybody else is doing. And it felt good to have somebody on my team and on my side standing up for that. So that was the dream. At the end of this podcast, I will tell you the revelation that I've had, and hopefully it can be an encouragement to you too, because I really sat with it in the spirit and just asked God this morning, like, what does that mean? I feel like it's a significant dream. So maybe you have guesses, but I will share more about that at the end of this podcast. But to share more today about Kingdom Fit Moms and the heart behind it and our tribe and why we do what we do, I can't help but go back to me as a child. And again, I was a kid who was observant of the environment around me and just saw that in so many situations I was in. And this is just my young mind being very frank. So please don't be offended, but this is just how I thought as a kid. I looked around and I saw the world and I thought, wow, adults grow up and they get fat. Like that's literally what I thought. And something within me was like, I don't want that though. And I would see every now and then parents who were not overweight and they were active. And my parents, just for the record, like they did a good job of teaching me exercise and taking care of your body. Like they did a good job. But the overall culture told me otherwise. And so I think even from a young age, I had this fear that I was going to grow up and, struggle with my weight. And, my dad, again, he encouraged me, make sure you eat, he would say, eat your veggies. And he was right. It is very simple, but there was so much more to that. And so that fear was planted. I was an athlete. I went to college. I was very aware at that time that I didn't want to become somebody who was gaining weight quickly in college. And so I'm grateful for this awareness, but it became a little bit of an obsession where I would be thinking about, okay, I have to make sure I get enough exercise in. And that's how I thought that this was fixed, that I just exercised a lot, which I was able to do as an athlete. And then we'd go to the cafeteria, we'd go get, late night sandwiches and milkshakes and all the things. And as long as I had enough burn, I could balance it out with whatever else. Which again, as a kid, to some extent, is true, right? You have a great metabolism and you're active and you can kind of eat to some degree whatever you want. And then I went to PA school and it was maddening to me that pretty much every disease that we learn about, one of the predisposing factors was obesity. And there was just a very flippant view that nothing is really done about it. We have weight loss medications. It's just an epidemic. Obesity is just a thing now. Even young girls are, developing breasts at an early age. And there's obesity and there's all these endocrine issues. And it just is what it is now. That's kind of the vibe that I always got. And I felt this righteous anger about that. I'm like, no, that's just not how we are designed. And there has to be a solution. There has to be more. And so from those seeds that were planted at a very young age, God was setting me up to say, this is the thing that I have called you to do. I am calling you to restructure the way that we do health and to fight this battle against the obesity. I don't know if you'd call it a pandemic now. At least an epidemic here I'm in the United States. So I did capstone project about obesity in PA school. I started in prompt care as a PA, and so there really wasn't much to do in an acute setting with obesity. But then in family medicine, I would talk to my patients. I would set up specific, weight loss follow-ups. And again, I did this for years and years and years in different family medicine settings. And honestly, it was frustrating because it didn't work. And sometimes maybe it was the wrong clientele to have that desire to change. With insurance, you had to pay copays. There were financial barriers. And there was just a mindset in Western medicine that I just want it to go away. I want you to fix my problem quickly. So again, I set off on this mission of like, what else can be done? So I got a lifestyle medicine certification because I was Googling, what other types of medicine are people practicing where they're actually helping patients get well. So I discovered lifestyle medicine. I got a certification, which is fascinating because it's all about how specifically with plant-based eating, you can reverse disease and there is science to back it up, which is amazing. And this is one of my hearts behind what I want to do within the Kingdom Fit Moms community is to restore the glory of God in real food, to help people to understand intellectually even how food is medicine and how it's fascinating and so just cool to look into how God designed it. And when you catch wind of that restoration, it will help guide your journey because you're going to want to eat the things that God created because you know what it's doing to your body. So within all of that, my mind is spinning. I have such a heart for obesity. I love the treatment, the prevention of it, but I feel so stuck. So in the midst of this, I'm going to rewind a little bit in my story. I remember a patient who told me, I think she was selling lip scents, and which is great, like good for all of you who are doing the thing and having side hustles, or maybe it's even your main hustle. But I thought to myself, you know what, I could do that. Like I could sell something and make a little extra money. And at the time I wanted to have a little less time in the office and I had one baby. And so I joined a company called Beauty Counter, which I still am a part of technically, and I still have some lovely clients, but I went all in, you guys. I did the shows and the parties, and I did the social media, and I believed in their mission because they sold clean, non-toxic makeup and skincare, and I grew, a decent business. I was making enough money to step away to some extent from working full-time in medicine. But I had a business coach, and in hindsight, it felt so scary to spend $100 to be with this business coach. And she asked me the question, like, do you really want to be selling skincare and makeup for the rest of your life? It kind of like hit me in the gut because no, that's not my thing. But I love the idea of being able to have a business and do something on my own. So it led me down this path of discovering health coaching because she told me she was about to hire a health coach, and I could not believe that people would pay someone to help them to get healthy because this was something that was just so natural to me, right? And then it led me down this path of taking a really big risk to hire a business coach to help me to build a business. And I remember that initial investment was over $5,000. And I asked my husband, I was like, do you trust me? And he's like, yes. Why? And I said, okay, I think I want to be a health coach. I want to grow a business. And he thought I was crazy, probably. He won't say that, but I think he did. But he trusted me enough to know that if my heart was in something, that I would go all in. And so that's what I did. I joined this business program, and I would spend my weekends at the coffee shop, building out my first webinar, building out my, the structure of my business and who I would serve. And this adventure started, and I was working one-on-one with clients. I was actually seeing fruit in their lives of change. that I could never do in an office setting. And so I started to get really excited, like, oh, this could be something. And just so you guys know, when I first started, I didn't even have a focus of being a Christian weight loss coach. I just wanted to help women, and it evolved over time. This was in 2020. And I should back up a little bit because the cool part of this story was in 2019, I actually started the Facebook group for Kingdom Fit Moms before I even knew about health coaching. And it was just out of, I had this inkling and I stepped out in obedience that I was going to start a group called Fit for 2020, which is kind of funny if you think about it because I didn't know a pandemic was coming. And that was the original name of the group. And I invited some friends and they invited some friends. And basically we talked about food and fitness and how we could get well. That was it. And I didn't even know, this is a cool part, I didn't even know that God was setting me up for a business and a community that's now grown into over 4,000 people. And we just continue to grow, which is so cool. So later on, probably a year into, well, not even a year, probably 6 months into coaching, I had enough one-on-one clients that I was like, okay, I want to learn how to have a group program and help women learn from each other. So then we grew into Fit Moms Academy, which about 6 months later after that, God really put on my heart, like, I want you to focus on making this a kingdom-minded community. I love working with all my clients, but I recognize that when we had the Jesus thing in common and we could talk about that, real transformation was happening. So our community was growing. More and more women were breaking free, and they were able to see their sisters in Christ breaking free. And it got to the point where God is so good. And in 2022, I was able to step away from my job completely. And I want to tell you guys, if there is a transition in your life and you're feeling a call to do something, and maybe you feel timid about it and you feel afraid, that's normal. I was so afraid. I had a good job and the people there were great. And I just knew something deep within my bones that it's not the thing that I was designed to do, but it was comfortable. It was a good salary, it had good benefits, it was predictable. And people always need healthcare, right? And so to step away from that was a really big deal. And again, my husband is wonderful and he believed in me the whole time. And there have been ups and downs, right? There have been months where we looked at each other like, okay, we need, like, Lord, you got to provide, And this leap of faith, just the favor and the just the love that I felt from my Heavenly Father on this whole journey by taking this leap of faith has been probably the biggest faith building journey of my life. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but we were able to, just through the direction and guidance of the Holy Spirit, we were able to pay off our student loans. The funny thing too is that, you guys, I'm a homeschool mom now, which I never in a million years would have guessed ever. And I love it, but I could not have done that if I was working in an office setting. And so the Lord just over again, this has been 3.5, 4 year process. It's just been taking one step of obedience at a time to build the thing that He's calling me to build and not trying to jump to the end goal. Because again, I could have never predicted that I would be homeschooling and that this business would allow me to be with my kids and do the thing that He called me to do. But He was setting that up. And it's just so funny to think about how it has all come to be. So I now have this program, right? It was originally called Fit Moms Academy. And then I started to see that there were some people who wanted the coaching and there were some people who wanted the information. And so we originally created a membership program, and now it's become a course where Fit Moms Academy is the course with all of the kingdom-minded information that you take in and go through and have action steps. And then Fit Moms Accelerator is where you work with me. We do one-on-one calls. We give you feedback. We help you to break the chains, to dig up the roots, to walk further in identity, to process all the things that you learn in the academy. So now we have 2 options for women. And I will give you a little teaser here. I'm in the process of basically redoing everything from the ground up. Parts of my program are from the original 2020 version. and I want to update them. I want to make them better. I want to take everything I've been learning over the past 3-4 years and make it more like fine-tuned, right? I also want to share with you a little bit about how the information has come to me. So I knew the real food piece from the beginning, and that's what I've taught from the beginning. But the spiritual aspect has been a process where I have pressed in, I have fasted, I've taken walks, I have asked the Lord over and over again, what is the answer? How can I help women to break free from this? Can you show me more? Can you show me more? And I remember one summer, I think it was summer of 2022, where a lot of this was revealed as far as the different steps, walking in identity first, and then digging up the root lies. We went through basically a mini course where I showed women how to do that for the first time. And then the next step being kingdom purpose, getting excited about that as the root lies are dug up, and declaring truth and declaring a new story over our lives, and how all those pieces come together to create this Fit Moms formula from a spiritual aspect. And then that parallels with the time management. It parallels with how do I actually do this thing as a busy mom? How do I change my thoughts? And how do I eat real food? How do I do that in a way that's practical and tastes good and all of that, right? So I say all that because I want to encourage you that if there's something that God has on your heart and you're like, I see that end goal, I see that this is a thing that He's called me to do, and it can feel so frustrating in the process to not know all the steps to get there. But I want to encourage you to embrace that process. Even if your process right now is like you see that version of you that heaven sees free and fit and energetic and doing this thing, health-wise. And maybe you feel like, I don't know how to get there and it's frustrating. Well, embrace that process, because it can be such a beautiful process where God reveals things in your heart. He reveals things that He wants to strip away. You get to grow in intimacy with Him. It's a lot of fun, actually. And you can go back and listen to testimonies of other fit moms who have learned to love exercise. They've learned to love themselves. They've invited their family in to love the process. All of that cannot happen at once. And we like to rush it because we're humans and we want to get to the end goal. But I just want to encourage you to embrace the process, because it can be the most life-changing thing of your life, whatever that is. If it's weight loss, if it's growing a business, if it's something else He's calling you to do, maybe it's homeschooling. That's been a learning process, let me tell you. But embrace it and see it all as beautiful. So more recently, the podcast has come out. So that was this past summer, and I'm having so much fun because it's giving me an outlet to just share my heart with you in greater depth and to tell you more about health, more about the spiritual aspect, more about the freedom that you can absolutely have. And it's very exciting because I get to see it every single day with women who are having breakthroughs that they've never had before. They've been stuck in diet culture. They've been stuck counting things. And that's not what we're about. Yeah, you're going to lose weight when you come in. That's the wonderful byproduct. And you're going to have more confidence and you're going to be feeling good. But even more than that, you're going to know who you're created to be. And you're going to know in a greater depth how your Heavenly Father sees you, and you're going to walk that out. And being fit and healthy is just a part of that, I believe. We're not designed to just struggle with weight our entire life. It's not how we're designed to live. So Fit for Life 2020, or Fit for 2020, the Facebook group became Fit for Life, which became Kingdom Fit Moms more recently with the podcast. And now I can tell you what I think is coming, but I have learned to not try to predict too far into the future, because God can totally change our plans, and He can totally just put new desires in my heart for all of you and what's next. But I will say that Fit Moms Academy, Fit Moms Accelerator, both of these things are being revamped currently. So if you are considering joining either of those programs, you're going to get access to everything now, and I have some surprises for those who are in. As far as committing now, you are going to be given access to everything new for a longer period of time. So there's just a little hint there that it's a really, really good time to come in, especially into Fit Moms Accelerator, because we have some fun things down the line I haven't even told my gals about. So if you're listening, stay tuned on that. But we also have developed a lot of free things for you. We have trainings about overcoming emotional eating, the Kingdom Keys to Weight Loss, meal planning like a pro. Our Fit Mom Starter is our 10-day free course to lose weight fast, and the results of the women, dropping 5-10 pounds, getting better sleep, having more energy, learning to love real food in just 10 days have been incredible. So if you go to my website, kelseywickenhauser.com/freebies, you can check that out. Now, I did want to tell you, as a little side note, October, if you're listening live, October 2023, this month we are focusing on how to invite God into the weight loss journey, which is why I wanted to share the history of our movement so you knew what you were getting yourself into in a good way. And I want you to mark your calendar because we're going to be going in depth into how we do this on October 19th, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. It's a free training called Christian Weight Loss 101, and I really want you to be there live with me on Zoom because we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. We're giving away prizes to the people who join us live. And I think that even if you have been in our world for a little bit, sitting down for an hour without kids, so get a babysitter, I highly encourage you, in listening in and actually committing that time to the transformation and letting your heart change, it's just really powerful. And so being there together with our community and saying, yes, I'm doing this thing. It's going to be an amazing event. I believe that God's going to really show up. So October 19th, Christian Weight Loss 101. The link to sign up is down below. If you go check me out on Instagram, social media, you'll find it in my bio. Get signed up and save your spot. We do have limited spots in our Zoom room. So now to wrap this up, you're probably wondering, why did she tell me that dream at the beginning? So I was sitting again with the Lord this morning, and I realized that He has been so good and so gracious. And I have spent the past 3 years focusing a lot on how to market and how to grow and how to get the word out and how to share the movement, which is necessary when you grow business, right? And what I learned from this dream is that the Lord has been pleased with my desire to try, right? With all of those skills that I had never had before. I was a biology major with a Spanish minor. I had literally no business experience. I had no idea how to grow a business or run that. And it's been fun. Honestly, I have loved learning about it. I've loved learning about technology and social media and emails and all of that. I've developed a lot of new neural pathways, hopefully preventing Alzheimer's for a few extra years or whatever. Like, it's been really good for my brain, I will tell you. But in the dream, this man who I'm wondering if it's a representation of Jesus, right? It was this man that looked like no other man I had seen before, and he was so kind and gracious. But he told me that we need to get you back to pitching 3 days a week, and we need to get you back to doing the thing that you really want to do. And I was sitting there and I was staring at my bookshelf, and I have all these books on the human body and medicine and food and healing and the spiritual aspect and all of that. And my heart, it lights up in a similar way to when I pitch, because I love it so much. I know that this is a thing I'm called to do. And being a PA, I was able to do that to some extent. Growing a business, I'm able to do that to some extent. But now, through a series of details that I won't bore you with, I'm able to start outsourcing some of the business aspects. I'm able to let someone come in and help me run the operations behind the business and really dive into the body and healing and helping women become set free at a greater depth, because I don't have to focus on, in the analogy in the dream, doing backhands and dives in the dirt, because that's not, I can do those things, but it's not the thing that I'm meant to do. I'm meant to be a pitcher, and I am meant to, for analogy's sake, I was meant to be a pitcher, and now I've moved on, unfortunately. But now the thing that I am called to do is to be this kingdom-minded health coach and to help women heal. And I get to take all the things that I've learned through medicine, through studying anatomy, through studying physiology, the human body. The other part I didn't mention is my husband and I have been going through a school, Freedom House Ministry. I'm actually going to have somebody from that school come on in a future interview that you are definitely not going to want to miss. But it's basically teaching inner healing and prayer counseling and how to incorporate that into releasing emotions, releasing bitterness and judgment and all of that. You can go back to listen to the last episode on inner healing to learn more, but I'm getting to take all of these skills and the Lord is setting it up so perfectly. And again, I can't rush the process, but he's creating me to be someone who gets to help people go through a journey of walking in abundant health. And I know there is so much more that I have to learn. And I can't wait to see what that is. But I am embracing the process. And I hope you can take some just solace in that whatever the Lord is creating you to be, you can embrace that process and you can trust that He will set up every single peg in the journey. He may call you to be a homeschool mom like me, or you may not. I say that because it's funny to me because it's so unpredictable, but that's just like the Lord, right? He will graciously take you one step at a time through your adventure, whatever that is for you. And I would love to hear, I wish I could sit down and hear all of your adventures. And that's why we have our Facebook group, Kingdom Fit Moms. I would love for you to share what is the Lord taking you on? What kind of journey? Where is He showing you that that there is, maybe you see the end of the tunnel, but you don't know how to get there, right? Maybe there's this maze to get to the end of your journey. So I'm just curious what that is for you and what's coming up and what is your thing. And are you willing to embrace the process? And again, I want to encourage you that if you feel this burning desire in your heart where you're like, man, I want to stop thinking about weight. I just want to be healthy. I just want to live as one of those healthy people. I want to encourage you that it doesn't have to be somebody else that is living this healthy life. It can be you. And it takes some work, right? It takes rebuilding the foundations. You can't just go on a diet plan and expect for that thing to stick if this has been a struggle your whole life. We got to strip everything away. We have to help you to see yourself the way that the Lord sees you. We have to help you to understand who you are. And we have to help you to just understand food and understand health very simply before we can start getting complicated. And all of that's possible for you. I see it every day in this amazing thing that I get to call my job. And it's good. So if you feel like you have been lacking hope, if nothing else, after this podcast, I just feel like you feel a fresh sense of hope for the journey. And go tell us all the things inside of our community, inside of our tribe that continues to grow. And I can't wait to see what God creates in the next 6 months, year, whatever that looks like. And I can't wait to see what He creates inside of you. Hey Fit Mom, if this episode blessed you today and you can think of somebody else who's struggling in her weight loss journey, would you consider sharing this week's episode with her to give her a sense of hope? And then while you're at it, hop on over to our free Facebook community, Kingdom Fit Moms, for daily encouragement and support. Let's go shed the weight to shine the light.